Today on The Big Story, can't wait to see the new Star Wars movie? Look forward to a spoiler-free review. Part-time undergraduates and diploma students to pay lower tuition fees. US and China's Phase 1 trade deal, does it come at a price for China? Welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Kimberly Jiao, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Fans of Star Wars get excited. Tonight sees the Singapore premiere of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. The awaited finale of the latest Star Wars trilogy will be a conclusion to all 9 Star Wars films in the George Lucas-created space opera. The newest film, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, will see the band of resistance fighters introduced in The Force Awakens once again try to defeat the military dictatorship known as the First Order. The Rise of Skywalker's Singapore premiere is today and goes on general release tomorrow. Now, people like you and me might only be able to see the film tomorrow, but with me, I have someone who's already seen the film, and that is ST film correspondent John Lui. Hi, John.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on to let us grill you about this movie.
Grill away.
My first question is, did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it as much as a person can enjoy a McDonald's hamburger plain.
Okay, do elaborate. What is that about?
Okay, this one which caps the three-movie story arc, which started in 2015 with The Force Awakens,
Right.
the storyline. This one is back to the original, the tone of the original, which is that it's action-packed, but it's completely forgettable.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's the stuff that is weird that makes Star Wars movies memorable. I mean, you remember the second one, The Last Jedi, which came out in 2017, because it had the Pogs and it had Luke Skywalker drinking the weird green alien milk.
Iconic moments.
Those moments, those weird moments that people hated, but they're the things that you remember. But you know, if you don't remember the I can't even remember, the lightsaber fights, the pew-pew, you know, blaster battle, that one all completely forgettable. But you do remember the Pogs and the green alien milk.
Right. So if you were to give us a spoiler-free review, what would you say? Would you say it's forgettable?
There's a tight focus, yes. There's a tight focus on the story of Rey and Kylo Ren.
Okay.
All the characters that were introduced in the first and second movies, mostly sidelined. So there's 2 hours of intense focus on these two characters as they come to their conclusion.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask you if this was a satisfying sort of final chapter to close the book on Star Wars.
Yeah, it's satisfying in the sense that all the mystery that's built up about Rey, who she is, and Kylo Ren, where they come from and how they are interrelated, all that is fixed. But everything else, not so much.
Oh dear. So if you were going to the theatre expecting to see sort of a wrap-up on everything there is about Star Wars, you might be disappointed. Yeah,
Rose Tico, you know, Kelly Marie Tran, those storylines, Poe Dameron, Finn and all that, they kind of come to a close, but they are completely sidelined.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well, I will still look forward to seeing this film for myself, I think, but listening to your review, I might think twice about that.
Well, you might go see it just because, you know, it brings the thing to a conclusion.
That's true. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us, John. If you are interested in seeing what the Hollywood premiere of the movie was like, do stick around for what's trending after this. Now, from next year, part-time undergraduates and diploma students at publicly funded institutions will pay lower tuition fees. The Education Ministry will raise bursaries for part-time students, with undergraduates in the bottom income tier getting $2,500 a year, up from $1,350. The government will be investing $2.8 million a year for part-time students, benefiting about 2,100 Singaporean part-time undergraduates and diploma students. New and existing Singaporean students in publicly funded part-time courses at all 5 polytechnics and those autonomous universities that offer such programs are eligible. With us today to discuss this is education correspondent Amelia Ting. Hi Amelia, thanks for joining us. Let's jump straight in. Who are these people who will be benefiting?
Okay, so there are currently about 19,000 part-time students in our polytechnics and universities, and they do part-time studies for a variety of reasons. Some because most of them are working adults who prefer to get industry experience, to work first before they decide what sort of course they want to go into next, like between poly and university. Quite a few of them are also older people who already have families, who have children, and they're working to support their children, but at the same time they want to upgrade themselves because perhaps they didn't manage to do so 10, 20 years ago when they finished secondary school or finished ITE or poly.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of them also want to upgrade themselves and get a higher qualification because they think it's better for their career. In case they want a new job, a role, they want to take on new responsibilities or even like switch industries.
I see.
Yeah.
So how exactly is this going to sort of benefit these people?
So I mean, the announcement is basically just more money. Any amount of financial help, I think, is good, especially for families who are in the lower income tiers. So for the lowest income group, earning 4,000 or less, which is also a new tier that the MOE has created. It used to be one whole group, and now they split it into two groups so that the bottom group in that group will get more money.
I see.
So for part-time university students in this group, you get bursaries coming up to 2,500. And this is up from 1,300 before. So it's quite a significant hike. Yeah, and similarly, part-time diploma students will pay 100 a year and down from currently 300. And for degree students, it's 2,000 a year in terms of your tuition fees, and compared to 3,150 now. So this is for the lower group, meaning you earn 4,000 and less.
I see. So actually, these part-time students, right, they're currently being offered something that the full-time students were previously getting, right? Could we talk a little bit about that?
So in August, MOE had already announced significant bursary increases for full-time students in polys and universities. So they said they would spend 44 million more per year on bursaries for this group of full-time students. And I think this latest announcement, it would be an extension to that announcement. And in September, PM Lee himself had also said that the fees for part-time students would be reviewed, and MOE would adjust them if it saw fit to do so. And there have been calls for MOE to relook fees for part-time students because you're talking about lifelong learning, and it's all in line with MOE's rhetoric of wanting students to continue learning even after they leave school. So for working adults who want to upgrade themselves, if they didn't get a chance before, this part-time studies is a very good opportunity.
Right.
So
this is sort of a follow-up to that promise, sort of.
Yeah, it's a small group. There's only 19,000, but compared to the larger pool of undergraduates and poly students, but significant enough because it's a growing number of people who want to upgrade themselves, get higher qualifications, go back to school, even while they're in the workforce.
So it's good that they're getting the help that they need.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on to share more with us, Amelia. And if you'd like to get stuck in with all the numbers and figures, do have a look at the online article on straitstimes.com. And now let's move on to What's Trending, where Dylan will share with us what's buzzing in the internet first. Dylan?
Thanks, Kim. It's time for What's Trending. A viral video allegedly showing a man throwing a dog out of a car window has been circulating online and shared on social media. The video has sparked outrage from netizens, calling the owner cruel and inhumane. The incident was captured on dashcam and happened at Lorong Halus near Pasir Ris. And Park's Animal and Veterinary Service is investigating the case and appealing to members of the public for information. Next up, it seems like Singaporeans can't resist taking up the offer of a bargain even if the money is going to a good cause. A recent Pay What You Like promotion by a local durian store ended up taking less than expected thanks to customers ignoring the charitable intent behind the offer. According to Lian He Wan Pao, a customer walked away with 6 durians, having paid a mere $4. That said, some did get into the charitable spirit and shelled out $600 for just 2 durians. I guess all hope is not lost, eh? And finally, Star Wars fans rejoice! The highly anticipated final installment to the Star Wars sequel trilogy Rise of Skywalker officially hits our shores tonight. Stars like Daisy Ridley, Mark Hamill and Adam Driver walk the red carpet while fans turn up in full costumes at the Los Angeles premiere last night. Rise of Skywalker picks up from 2017's The Last Jedi, with the Resistance facing off against the First Order. The late Carrie Fisher makes a final appearance as Leia via previously unseen footage. I've got a good feeling about this. Are you excited about the film? Let us know. And that's all we have for What's Trending today. If you've seen a story you want to share, link it in the comment section below. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Dylan. The US and China have said they agreed to the first phase of a broader trade agreement, but some say that this comes at a heavy price for China. While White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow says the so-called Phase 1 trade deal between Washington and Beijing has been absolutely completed, experts say that China's needs and US product prices are crucial for any larger shifts in purchasing patterns. The most immediate benefit for China of the Phase 1 trade deal will likely be an increase in its purchase of US farm products, say experts, but larger shifts in the trade balance will depend on demand and market competitiveness of US products. But experts say that with variables such as the US elections, Trump's impeachment process, and the continued economic performance of both countries, it is unclear what the next phase of talks could look like. China correspondent Lim Yanliang wrote a couple of analyses on this, and live from China via Skype right now is Yanliang himself. Hi, Yanliang.
Hi, Kimberly.
All right. So in one of your analyses, right, you actually mentioned that China paid a heavy price for the trade deal with the US. What is that price exactly?
Well, it's literally a heavy price for China because if you believe what President Donald Trump has said, as well as what the US Trade Representative has said, China has pledged to buy between US 50 billion in American farm goods next year to up to US 80 billion in things like soybeans within the next 2 years. If you consider the fact that China bought just shy of US $25 billion worth of farm goods in each of the years before the trade war started, this means that China must buy between 3 to 4 times the amount of farm goods that it has bought in the last few years. So experts like Sino-US Renmin University expert Shi Yinghong have said that there is not a sustainable trajectory for China. And if you listen to the US side and believe that this is what China has promised to buy, then China might not be able to sustain this pace of purchase of American farm goods. This is also why Chinese officials in the last few days have stressed time and again that China will not be held to certain dollar commitments in its purchase of farm goods, but that this will depend strictly on market competitiveness of the goods as well as its own domestic needs.
Right. So, and actually, this back and forth, right, has been happening for a while now, right? How do you think this has impacted the two countries, especially when it comes to their power dynamics?
Well, both sides have been very insistent on controlling the narrative when it comes to the Phase 1 agreement. So earlier on Friday, China, despite having a press briefing, the Foreign Ministry regular press briefing, and it was asked about this, it deferred any comment to the Commerce Ministry, who did not make any remarks until literally 11th hour press briefing at 11 p.m. at night. And so that was around 10 a.m. In the US when Trump also began to tweet about the Phase 1 agreement. China has been trying to frame the trade agreement as more of a, on principle, return to fair trade and a move away from tariffs, while President Trump has been trying to talk about the numbers, about the amount of goods that Beijing has committed to buy.
I see.
So it depends very much on who you ask, because there's a prevailing sense in Beijing that if you talk long-term trajectory, it's a matter of time before China overtakes the US to become the world's largest economy. So while he has made concessions in this Phase 1 deal, such as in IP protection, in promising not to do forced technology transfer and in liberalizing its financial sector. In Beijing's view, these are worthwhile giveaways to ensure short-term economic stability and to forestall any economic shock from any extra tariffs.
Right. So I guess the question on everyone's mind right now is sort of, what's next? What's to come?
Well, the Phase 1 deal still has to be ratified by both sides. It has to go through a legal process both within Beijing and in Washington. And then there's the question of whether down the line both sides agree that they have held to the bargain that has been struck in this December deal. So there's many ways to argue whether either side has held to the deal, and if one side feels that the other has reneged on any of its promises, the whole thing might come apart again the same way it did earlier this year in April when both sides said they were very close to a deal.
I see. Well, thanks for your thoughts on this, Yan Liang. And if you'd like to read Yan Liang's analyses on US-China trade relations, they are available on our website. And those were the top stories of today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Kimberly. Thank you for watching The Big Story, and we'll see you tomorrow.